Welcome to Ofofo Studio. My guest for today is Rachell Weiss. Rachell is a service partner manager at Thoropass. Thoropass, you would have heard of the name already. They're a big player when it comes to compliance. ISO 27001, SOC 2, Type 1, Type 2, PCI-DSS, HIPAA, they cover everything. Rachell, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Going great, man. Yeah. All right. So I did try to explain Thoropass right now in the introduction, but I'm sure you can do a much better job. You
You did pretty well. You did like a
did?
nice one sentence of what Thoropass does. Compliance, your major framework, SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, GDPR. You did miss HITRUST though, so
Oh,
HITRUST is in there
that's a big one. Yeah. All right.
too.
So, Rochelle, I mean, like, why do you do what you do?
So I run the service partner program here at Thoropass. I have been here almost 2 years now, so my
Hmm.
anniversary is almost coming up. And I get to
Congratulations.
work with, I thank you, I'm excited. I get to work with all of our reseller and referral partners. So getting them to use our services with their customers and growing our network and impact of Thoropass.
Perfect, perfect. But when it comes to compliance, right? Compliance is more often than not a foot in door for cybersecurity, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to these particular kinds of compliance. And as you know, I mean, there are already established players in the market, right? I mean, you've got names like Vanta, Drada, who are already doing so much to service to enterprises and also medium businesses. What
Yeah.
makes Thoropass different?
So, Thoropass, our main differentiator is that we do readiness and we do audit. So, not only do we have our platform where our end customers get into the platform and we provide them the foundation or the framework where they can then go implement all the controls for their compliance posture at their organization. But once they do that implementation, then we have another side of the house that comes in and actually validates with the audit side of it to say, did you do what you said you were going to do and do that validation piece of it? So
Hmm.
instead of having to work with multiple different organizations, instead of having to go find an auditor and then pulling in a third party and not really knowing, like working with the same company from start to finish, you can have everything in one house at Thoropass. And we do what from start to finish with your compliance journey. And that's really our main differentiator.
Wow, that definitely sounds very thorough and very comprehensive.
Right? That's where the name comes from, actually. When I first started at Thoropass, we were Leica. That was our name. And then we went through a rebrand
Hmm.
just over a year ago, which I don't recommend. Rebrands are awful. So, it's a 0 out of 10, do not recommend. But we did. We went through a rebrand, and it actually was worth it, even if it was a lot of work. So, the name or the history behind the name and where it came up from is Thoropass. So, thorough is compliance is not something that you just like check the boxes and you're like, okay, I did XYZ.
Right.
Now I'm just good to go. Compliance can just sit over there. I don't really care about it. We want compliance to really become an integrated piece of your organization, and we want it to be really thorough. We want it to be like a true part of your business plan. And we obviously want you to pass your audit with flying colors. We want you to do it right. We want you to do a good job. And so that's where Thorough Pass comes through. That's where the name comes from. So even though it was a rebrand, even though it was a lot of work, it was worth it because the name definitely represents what we do and what we stand for.
When companies come over to you saying we need certain compliance frameworks to be achieved or some standards that we wish to get to, what are the questions like? I mean, like what motivates, another way of asking the same question is, what motivates most companies to come to you?
Yeah. So there's a couple different approaches that we can look at this. And I always look at it from the partner lens because those are mainly who I work with is our partner programs. And the way that I talk to our partners about it is there's a top-down approach and there's a bottom-up approach about the
Right.
need for compliance when you're working with end customers.
Right.
And the top-down approach is when you are talking to organizations about compliance, you're telling them that this is the best practice. This is what you should should do as you grow your business and as you scale and you open up new opportunities. If you're selling into new markets, as you're growing, as you are adding new departments, as you are growing your product, as you're expanding, like this is the best practice of what you should do. And so that's the top down approach. It's saying this is what the expectation is of a good business model is implementing a compliance program.
Right.
And so our partners that can guide customers of saying this is what you should do. Best practice. It's a top down approach. But then you have a bottoms up approach where customers have a need that's driven or that's driving them to explore compliance. And this is where they either come to Thoropass directly or they go to a partner and they say, like, hey, I have this scenario. And either the partner says, hey, this is an opportunity for compliance or to bring up
Mm.
this conversation.
Yeah.
So situations like a bottoms up approach would be like they are getting the end customer is getting DDQ questionnaires from their prospects. And they're spending a lot of time filling out DDQ questionnaires, and it's a lot of wasted effort. So instead of filling out all those DDQ questionnaires over and over from prospects, put in a compliance framework in place, put together a trust center. And instead of constantly filling out DDQs, respond with, hey, here's my trust center, here's my SOC 2. Why don't you take a look at that? And then let's see if I still have to fill out that DDQ questionnaire because
Nice.
I already have these frameworks in place. Or another scenario would be like a cybersecurity a cyber insurance questionnaire. So
Right.
the company wants to explore getting cyber insurance and they fill out a questionnaire and they go to like their MSP and they say, hey, am I doing all of this? And the MSP is like, well, you're doing some of it,
Yeah.
but maybe we should explore like actually putting together a compliance framework and look holistically at your org instead of just looking at these tiny little boxes to check because
Right.
we're only filling in a couple things. We're not looking holistically at your org. Like this is an opportunity for more here.
Yeah.
Let's not just fill in some gaps. Let's look a little bit more. Or they're adding a new product and they want to make sure the product meets all of the requirements that their original product did. Or the biggest one on the bottoms up approach is sales
Yeah.
and looking at new sales procurement. That's going to be the driving force for a lot of compliance frameworks. And you always hope, like you wish every organization would take it from like, this is best practice. I need to do this. Obviously you should, but really it's generally driven by sales. There has to be an ROI on it. Every business has to look at cost risk analysis. And so what they do is that they will go to try to secure new business and that new business says, hey, where's your SOC 2?
Right.
Do you have ISO 27001? Or they go to the European market and they've stayed US based. Well, in your European market, they have to have an ISO 27001. Okay, well now I need to get that. Or on the flip side, they're in the EU and they need to come to the US. Well, they need a SOC 2. So what do
Right.
they need to do in that? So sales procurement is going to drive a lot of the compliance needs. So when you're looking at what could bring a company to use a program like Thoropass, there's a lot of different ways. You have that tops down approach of it's a best practice. You should do it as an organization because you should have a compliance framework in place. You should be thinking about how you're managing data in your organization. But there's also different caveats where you have scenarios at your organization that should drive you if you don't have something in place of maybe I should have something in place.
Makes a lot of sense. So, for our viewers and listeners, Rochelle, can you do a breakdown of what industries would need what kind of compliance standards?
It's all over the place and it depends. And I know like everyone hates that answer, right? It's the worst answer to give because it was like, well, yeah, but what about this?
Yeah.
Like, I know, but it really depends.
Hmm.
So there's a couple broad stroke statements that I can give, and they are very broad stroke statements, and I get that. But this is also where you can have a trusted partner like Thoropass that can help guide you into what is best for your organization because it is very dependent on the organization and the market that you're selling into and the products that you have and the data that you're managing.
Right.
So broad stroke statements. If your majority of who you sell to is in the US, SOC 2 is your standard. SOC 2 is kind of table stakes for selling into the US. If you're selling into the European market, ISO 27001 is your standard over there. So those are kind of equitable.
Hmm.
Then you in healthcare, HIPAA and HITRUST is going to be kind of your focus in healthcare. If when you're looking at industry wise there, any when you get into your government and government contracts, that's when you're going to pull in like CMMC. And then you get into state ramp and fed ramp. Those get real complicated real fast. That's where you get into a lot of different nuance where you do need a trusted advisor to kind of help guide you of what's going to be best for your organization. You also get into state specific, you get into industry specific. And this is where you really do need to work with someone that is well versed in not only your industry, but also well versed in compliance that can kind of help guide you in one way or the other.
Makes a lot of sense. It's a very difficult territory to navigate through if you're a small to
Yeah.
medium business. But for
Yeah.
that, like Thoropass would help you navigate through all of it before even achieving those compliances. Was that correct?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Absolutely. And if we aren't, so Thoropass is not going to cover every single framework. And we're fully aware of that and we acknowledge that because we don't want to be experts in everything. To
Right.
be an expert in everything means that you can go an inch deep and you can go a mile wide, right? And that's just not very effective. So we are very specific of we are going to cover these specific frameworks. And that's what we're going to be very good at. And we are obviously evaluating more frameworks of what's going to add the most value to Thoropass and what our customers need. But we also have a network of partners that if we don't cover it, I bet you I have a partner that does and has experience there that I could introduce you to.
Nice.
That there is expertise out there in the it within my network that can definitely help.
Makes a lot of sense. So, Rochelle, I mean, like, while we're talking, I cannot help but notice the 3D printer at the back.
Yeah, I do have a 3D printer over there. I do. This
What do you
is
print on
my
that?
office and my hobby room. So you have my printer. I also have like sewing stuff over there.
Wow.
I have lots of hobbies.
Like, suddenly I'm motivated to know more about Rochelle as a person.
I know. So this is actually one of my fun facts. I work in partnerships, obviously. In partnerships, I'm a big proponent that partnerships are based on relationships.
Of course.
And I am well known for I love talking about anything but compliance, which is funny because I work in compliance, right?
Uh,
But I pretty much all of my partners, I know what they're into, their hobbies, everything because I want to know them as people. And
yeah.
obviously, I like to be an interesting person too. So I do 3D print with my son. And the 3D printer is really for him. We will find models and he will
Hmm.
print them and
Hmm.
then he'll paint them. And he'll make stuff. And then I also sell costumes and make some stuff there. So I had this is my hobby room.
That's amazing. So, Rochelle, if you want to plug your hobby links over here as well, be my guest, please, please. I mean, like, for our viewers and our listeners in and around the area where Rochelle is, if you want to
Mhm.
buy, what do they look at buying?
They're actually just for me. I don't sell them. These
No,
are
come on.
just no, these are really just for me. These are my hobbies and my fun. Like I make my costumes for me.
Hmm.
And for me, if it ever feels like a job, I don't want to do it. I just want to do it a hobby for me.
I understand.
Now, if you want to watch me play roller derby, I will definitely send you the link, and then you guys can watch me play roller derby.
The link will be in the description for everyone who is interested. All right. So, Rochelle, like, take me through some of the tattoos on your right arm. What are those about?
Uh, yeah, I have a full sleeve of tattoos.
Wow.
So I have lots of tattoos actually. My back is done, my thigh is done, and my arm. So my arm actually, it's kind of hard to show you in the video, but it actually started out as my wrist.
Hmm.
And right here on my wrist is three B's. It's a bold, brilliant, and beautiful, which
Okay.
is my affirmation. And so I started out with that. And then I went to the artist that did my arm and I told him, I want a visual representation of my affirmation, the bold, brilliant, and beautiful. And you can do whatever you want. I like the floral geometric, but you have full control to do whatever you want on my arm.
Hmm.
So I would go in and I would not know what he was going to do. I wouldn't know what he had planned. He would just tattoo me. And it was also an exercise of giving up control because I'm very much a control person. And so I would go in and he would tattoo, and this is what I got.
I think he did a good job.
He did. It is
Yeah.
beautiful. I love it.
Mm.
It also is very much a conversation piece. Like I go to conferences and stuff, and people stop by and talk to me about it all the time, and they want to know what it is. I mean, everyone. I'd be on calls. I've been working on it for the past year, and everyone would be like, "What did you add? What's new? Tell me about it. Like, what is the new section?" So it very much is a conversation piece as well.
All right. So, Michelle, you seem like a very interesting person. Can you take me through a typical day of yours? Like, what is it that you do
Oh man.
on an average day?
That is really hard because there is no average day.
Hmm.
It is all over the place. So, working, I was actually, so I said my anniversary with Thoropass is coming up. I have almost been here 2 years. And when I started at Thoropass, I was actually originally hired for enablement.
Oh.
My background is actually in teaching.
Hmm.
My first career was a high school science teacher.
Wow.
I know. I taught high school science for 7 years. I told you I'm an interesting person. And then I left teaching and I started working in corporate training. I did enablement. I was in credit card processing. I was in automation and manufacturing. I was in automated document processing, business orchestration, now compliance, just kind of all over the place. But I did enablement and I did a lot of partner enablement, but I
Nice.
didn't know that it was partner enablement. I didn't
Yeah.
even know what really a channel was. I didn't know what partners were. And this is really just because I had really never been in corporate. I went from
Oh.
education to corporate, which is a whole different world, and it's
Yeah.
very understated of how different it is. But I didn't know. I really just went at it as I just got to figure it out, right? I'm very much of the stubborn, I got to figure it out type of person.
Hmm.
When I started here, it was very enablement focused of training partners on what they need to know to be effective referrers and resellers of our program. And through a series of events, I ended up taking on more and doing more in the program. And now I run the full service partner program. So a day for me is very varied because I do the full scope of the service partner program. It goes from service partner acquisition, so bringing in new service partners. So that could be going to conferences and running vendor booths and getting partners interested, and then continuing those conversations of getting agreements in place and making sure they understand our programs and what we do. And then once we sign the agreements, then going through the enablement with them and making sure they understand the ins and outs of our program and how to be successful in our program. Then working with them on activation and partnering with marketing and getting them going and driving a book of business. And then once they have customers interested, then helping them on the sales process with their customers, and actually going direct with customers and supporting them in that sale. Once they go through the sale, then working on the back end on the ops side of things and optimizing everything and doing automation to drive my productivity so I can actually manage all of these partners and doing everything. And then also on the CX side of things and working with our CX team and making sure the customers and the partners stay happy and managing that relationship, setting goals, evaluating, making sure everyone stays happy, checking in with them and maintaining relationships on both sides, working through renewals and all of that fun stuff. So it's the full scope for all of our partners.
That was very comprehensive and beautifully explained, Rochelle.
Yeah. So a day in the life is very varied. So far today, I have had a potential partner call. I have had a potential partner call about a potential customer with them. I'm here with you talking about Thoropass and what we do. And then I have a customer call with an existing partner later, and then I have a enablement call with a new partner later, and I still have to do some ops side of the house later and evaluating like a new opportunity type that we have in Salesforce.
Oh my
So
God.
it's all every day is different. It's all over the place.
It's getting difficult for me to catch up, Rachel. Slow down, please.
It's it's all over the place. It is
Yeah.
very varied, but and we also have a conference coming up that we are going to bring partners into New York and get to have a partner day and then have a customer day the next day. So there's some planning in there of that too.
Oh, amazing. All right. So, I mean, can you take me through some of the things on your future roadmap, personally and for Thoropass?
Sure. So for Thoropass, one of our major goals right now is really highlighting the partner channel and making the partner channel kind of a core piece of the business. Right now, we're on that brink of being an ancillary part of the business, and we're on that tipping point of being that core part of the
Of
business,
course, yeah.
where it's showing value of the channel not only in influencing deals and bringing in pipeline, but really driving revenue for the organization as a whole, looking at the benefits to Thoropass, but then also looking at the benefits to our existing customers and to our partner channel as well. So we're right on that tipping point. And so lots coming on that front and kind of managing you kind of feel that excitement
Excitement,
of
eh?
being on that tipping point and just like you want those dominoes. Like I'm just ready to just like push those dominoes and make them fall. Like that's where I'm at on that tipping point. We also, as an organization, Thoropass is really honed in on kind of that value proposition of being that all-in-one solution, and being that standout solution in our having the readiness piece of the house and then also that auditing side. And our end customers love having that all-in-one solution where
Mhm.
they don't have to manage multiple vendors. They have the automation that comes with the SaaS platform. They have the foundation and the expertise in house. Our partners love that they can add a channel of business to them without having to be the experts. They can have that trusted partner in Thoropass. And so there's so many benefits to using a platform like Thoropass. But we also have that emphasis of we historically we were very much bread and butter of a small startup organization, but now we're able to grow further into that enterprise and working with the larger organizations and kind
Nice.
of seeing that come to fruition in the next couple months is really cool.
That's amazing.
Um, Personally, on my side of what's coming, honestly, I'm really excited to be grounded for a while. I know that sounds kind of weird coming from me, right? Like I probably seem like
I
a go
know.
go go person.
I thought that'd be a punishment for you. But like,
Right?
yeah.
No, I have been traveling a lot, yeah, just personally and professionally, going to conferences and whatnot. And I am finally home for about 2 months, and I am excited to be home and kind of get into a normal routine again and kind of just get baseline again because everything has just been chaos for a while.
Oh,
Sometimes you kind of need that level of calm before it gets all stormy and crazy again. And I am in that stage right now. So that is my near future. And then we'll go crazy again and it's fine. I'll welcome it. But right now I'm very excited for the calm.
what are some things that you do to decompress, Rochelle?
I mentioned sewing and like making costumes. And I will actually throw on an audiobook
Uh huh.
and I will listen to an audiobook and I will sew. So my hands are busy and I
Nice.
will just zone out and sew and listen to an audiobook. That's my favorite way.
That sounds good. All right. So, a few final questions before we wrap this up. Can you share some customer success stories, like some before, after, what the customer went through in their engagement with Thoropass?
Yeah. So the best customer success stories are when the customer comes in and have a true vision of this is where I'm at and this is where I need to be.
Right.
And I'm going to share two different stories where a customer came in with a partner. And obviously, I'm going to go the partner side because they're my partner people and I love my partners. But they came in with a partner and they said, Like, we need to get our SOC 2. This is very clear that we need our SOC 2 by this deadline. We have a contract waiting on this. We're super motivated to get in there and get it done. It's like, okay, great. Sounds awesome. And so, not only did they see the value of Thoropass, but because they were so highly motivated, they got into their type 1 super quickly. They were able to get into Thoropass. They set up their integrations. They got into the controls. They implemented their action items. They got into their type 1 audit, and they're already into their observation period for their type 2. And being able to see that success of a highly motivated customer that prioritized compliance, they knew the value of their org, or they knew the value of implementing a compliance posture at their organization to drive sales, and then they had the support of their partner to just knock it out and get it going, was really cool. Because a lot of times customers will come in and they'll say, like, compliance is a priority, we're going to do this.
Right.
And then they get in there and compliance is very easily just gets put on the back burner and
Yeah.
deprioritized and
Right.
deprioritized. And it happens. Like, you guys
Yeah.
are running a business, right? Like,
Oh.
things come up and other priorities come up and it gets deprioritized. And then suddenly, 6 months later, you realize we haven't done anything. We're now paying for the subscription. We haven't done anything. What do we do? And now it's like, how do we move it back up the priority list? And so that brings me to my second customer story, where we had a customer reach out and they said, like, hey, we haven't made the progress we needed to. We need some help. Do you have anyone that can help us? And this is where I come in and I say, of course, I have a whole network of service partners that can help you do that implementation. So because Thoropass does the readiness and we do the audit, like, we give the foundation and we audit, we can't bridge that gap and do the implementation, right?
Right.
We can give the foundation and we can do the audit, but we can't implement because you can't
Right.
grade your own homework. So this is where our service partners can come in and they can do the implementation because we can't do the implementation.
Mhm.
So this customer had signed direct with Thoropass. They hadn't made any progress. They then had a customer say, hey, you need this by this deadline. Otherwise, we're canceling our contract. And they were like, oh no, now we have to prioritize this. Can you help us? We don't have the bandwidth. And I was like, absolutely. I connected them with one of my partners. The partner was like, I can help you. Let's set this deadline. Let's get it done. They helped them with that implementation, got them to their deadline so they didn't lose that contract. And so Thoropass as a whole, we can meet the customer where they're at. Like, they can come in super motivated. They can drive it to their end goal. They can get to the goals that they need to using our platform. They
Mhm.
can also come in, and if they don't have the internal bandwidth, we have a network of partners that can help them do that and can help them achieve their goal. There
Nice.
is no one size fits all when it comes to compliance, just like
Right.
there is no one size fits all when it comes to a business plan. And that's one thing I love about Thoropass is we can meet any customer, any size organization, wherever they're at. And I'm kind of in that gray area in partnerships that I can kind of slot in wherever they're going to need us. And it's cool to add business value in a lot of different ways.
Beautiful. All right, Rochelle. So if businesses want to reach out to you, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so we have a couple different ways. So on a website, thoropass.com, there is a become a partner. So if you're interested in being part of our partner network, go to that become a partner. There's a form to fill out that'll connect you directly with me. And fill that out. It will get you right to my calendar so we can get some time together and we can connect. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn and reach out to me there. I will promise you, if you search my name, it is probably going to pull up Rachel Weiss. And if she's a famous actor, it is not going to be me. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I was not in The Mummy. I'm not that cool. I'm also not that tan. But you
I
know,
would disagree there, Rochelle. You're very cool.
I am cool, but I am not movie cool. I'm not a movie star. I'm also not that rich. But we can partner together. We both make money. So my name is spelled Rachell, Rachell. It's spelled wrong. My parents had literally just spelled my name wrong, so they took off the e because they didn't like it. but they added the extra L, so it's not Rachel, it's not Rachell, it's just wrong. So hopefully find me on LinkedIn or go to thoropass.com, click on become a partner, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Also, if you are interested in being a customer of Thoropass, you can also fill out our form on our website as well. Of course, we would love to talk to you directly. We do sell direct and we sell through our partner network, but either way, if you have compliance needs, typical compliance frameworks like SOC 1, SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, GDPR, HITRUST, PCI, etc., we are more than happy to help. More than happy to hop in and help because it is the best practice when it comes to organizations. But there's a lot of different ways to get there, and Thoropass can kind of fill in a lot of those ways.
Amazing. Rachell, this was an absolute pleasure. You're one of the most interesting people I've spoken with on the show.
Well, I am glad we could chat today. Obviously, and on the side note, if you guys want, if anyone listening wants to talk about anything but compliance, also happy to talk about those because that is where I thrive. It's a lot of fun just to make connections and network in general too. So, obviously, I have lots of hobbies and all the fun things.
So, viewers and listeners, you heard it right. You heard it from her herself. She understands compliance. She understands your business. Get in touch with her right now, and she could probably help you out with a lot of things. All right, Rachell. On this note, I'll wrap this up. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.